Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm PPE and this is the Peso Pro episodes. If you're looking for new content on personal finance, money management tricks, or peso tips, you've come to the right place. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button below. In this video, we're gonna talk about some frequently asked questions or FAQs in the Pag-IBIG MP2 savings account. If you've seen the previous episodes, we've discussed about the benefits of the Pag-IBIG MP2 as an investment vehicle, particularly for passive investors in the Philippines. It is a great offering by the government that can be done even by students or OFWs or basically anyone who has 500 pesos to spare as a starting seed fund. In this video, we're gonna capture some of the most frequently asked questions, but if you have more questions, please write them down in the comment section below and we'll try to come up with a new video to answer those questions and help you along to get into the Pag-IBIG MP2 savings account and start investing for your future. The Pag-IBIG MP2 Fund is a voluntary savings program still under the umbrella of the Pag-IBIG Fund. This is different from the mandatory required savings account that you have with Pag-IBIG, which is the 100 pesos that is being deducted from your payslip every month. By the term voluntary, there are different ways to enter into the Pag-IBIG MP2 account, and you also earn from the dividends that it pays out its voluntary members. All active Pag-IBIG fund members are eligible to apply for this account, so meaning if you are still on active employment, the chances are that you are able to apply for this voluntary savings program, but it is also offered to former Pag-IBIG fund members with other sources of monthly income like pensioners, regardless of age, but as long as you have at least 24 monthly savings in Pag-IBIG's mandatory fund before you retire. So the Pag-IBIG MP2 offers a wide range of flexibility in terms of savings. There is a minimum amount of 500 pesos needed to open an account and a minimum of 500 pesos per remittance, meaning every time you deposit into the fund, it has to be a minimum of 500 pesos. However, there's no maximum into the fund. You can deposit as much as you want, as often as you want, in the increments or in the schedule that fits you best. Again, the Pag-IBIG MP2 is not a regular savings fund, meaning you can decide to do it quarterly, semi-annually, one time, all up to you. However, there's a 500,000 limit on the things that you can do online. So meaning if you wish to save an amount exceeding 500,000 pesos, you cannot do it online or in one of the partner channels. You would have to issue a personal check or a manager's check and visit any of the Pag-IBIG servicing branch. If you're wondering how the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund earns, there's actually a mandate by its charter that 70% of the total fund has to be invested in housing financing or home loans to its Pag-IBIG members. Meaning, lahat po ng income na na-earn from the funds using Pag-IBIG MP2 as a housing loan, babalik po siya sa members ng Pag-IBIG MP2 and is given out as a dividend. The balance 30% of the fund is invested in corporate or government treasury bonds or company-owned bonds that are being offered in the market. So the Pag-IBIG MP2 is also an investment vehicle, meaning the returns are not guaranteed. However, if you look at the past 3 or so years average returns, this has been somewhere around 7 to 8% on average, which is very high compared to other investment options that you have like time deposits, which is roughly around 1 to 2% and will most likely require a high minimum initial deposit. The Pag-IBIG MP2 fund has been delivering very well in the previous years, but obviously that does not guarantee that the historical returns would be similar to the future returns. So just keep that in mind. The dividends can fluctuate depending on how the investments of what Pag-IBIG has been doing with the fund will directly affect the results of the dividends that you will get for the year. Case in point, for 2020, because of COVID-19, for example, if there's a slowdown in the number of loans that were taken out of Pag-IBIG, then you can probably expect for the dividends to be lower this year versus the other years when there's a surge in purchase of real estate, for example. So we will only know what the dividends are for year 2020 at the start of 2021, which is typically when they release the dividend results for the prior year. On when you're able to get the dividends, this will largely depend on the option that you selected when you open the account. You have two options to choose from, which is one, you can do annually, which means every time Pag-IBIG declares its dividends, they will deposit that amount of dividends into your nominated bank account, and you will be able to just keep your principal intact, leaving that to earn more dividends in the future. The other option would be to keep it and fix that at the end of the term, meaning what Pag-IBIG will do is they will redeposit the dividends that you earned for that period back into your fund and put that as part of the principal, which will earn more interest in the coming years. That option supports the compounding growth of your investment, which is good for long-term investing because you will then have the compounding effect of compounding interest for the future. And dividends in Pag-IBIG MP2 are tax-free, which is a game changer because almost all other investments would be taxed at the normal 20% withholding tax on interest earnings, which is similar to your bank account. Regardless how low or how high that interest rate would be, that will still be subjected to the 20% withholding tax. But for Pag-IBIG MP2 dividends, those will be tax-free, meaning if the fund earns 7%, you get the full 7%, whereas if you invested that in another vehicle subjected to the withholding tax, that 7% becomes 5.6% effectively net paid to you. Another great benefit or feature of the Pag-IBIG MP2 is that when we talk about insurance, what most of us would be familiar to is that banks are insured by the PDIC up until 500,000 per depositor. In Pag-IBIG MP2, this is governed by a separate set of rules which says by its charter that the principal you placed into the fund is actually fully guaranteed by the government. Yes, there's no limit to the guaranteed. The portion that you put in as principal will be fully backed by the government in case of any problems with the Pag-IBIG fund. There's gonna be a settlement process if and when that happens, but at least you have your peace of mind that the government is gonna back every deposit as principal into the Pag-IBIG fund regardless of what happens. Also, just remember, when we talk about principal, this is the amount of money that you actually put into the fund, and any dividend that you earn is still subject to whatever performance that the fund does in the next 5 years when you start to enroll. So you can open a Pag-IBIG MP2 account fully online, which we will have a separate video on, and we'll link to that once that video is uploaded in the description box below. But you can also process your enrollment in any of the Pag-IBIG servicing branches nearest you. For overseas Filipino workers, you can also do this in your country of residence, in your embassy or any representative office that has a Pag-IBIG counter, or when you're home back in the Philippines, you can actually do this at the POEA. To do remittances, you have a variety of options. You have the standard over-the-counter or payment partner channels that you can deposit to. The full list you can find in the Pag-IBIG Fund website. You also have some new, more convenient ways where you can actually even deposit via credit card payments for a fee, or you can do this via GCash or PayMaya for a minimum fee. So you probably heard about the 5-year maturity period for the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund. This probably is the only con I can think of this investment, because you will need to lock in the amount for 5 years for you to be able to enjoy the benefits of the fund. However, if you're planning for long-term savings, or if you're trying to build for, say, an educational fund or for whatever purposes beyond 5 years, it's a great option that you can take. The Pag-IBIG Fund has a 5-year maturity period, which means that if you chose the option of annual dividend payout, you will only get the dividends every year, but your principal amount stays intact for the fund. If you chose fixed at end of term option, that means that all of the dividends will be reinvested back, and that will form part of your capital or your principal for the next year, and it will have a compounding effect on interest. At the end of the 5 years from the date that you enrolled, you will be able to have access to the fund and withdraw this value, whatever it is. So for example, if you chose the annual dividend payments, meaning what will be left at the end of the fund will just be your principal amount, or if you chose the compounding option, then you would be able to withdraw all of the principal and compounded interest that you had in the same fund. At the end of 5 years, you should withdraw whatever you place into the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund. Depending on what option you took, that amount should be withdrawn out from that fund, because for the next 2 years, if you don't withdraw, this portion of the fund actually goes back into the dividends earning rate of the base Pag-IBIG fund. The base Pag-IBIG fund typically earns less than the modified Pag-IBIG 2, so you may be missing out on some interest there. And if you still do not withdraw it after 2 years, it will continue to be held by Pag-IBIG but at no interest, no dividends whatsoever, which means it will stay dormant up until you claim or withdraw the amount. What you can do after 5 years is to reopen a Pag-IBIG MP2 account and redeposit the full amount if you choose to just continue saving and not withdraw any of the money that you've saved for the past 5 years. This is a good option because there's basically no limit to the amount that you can place into an MP2 account, barring the minimum 500 pesos. So you can place everything that you've earned in the first 5 years into a fresh MP2 account and have that continue to compound, and then you can redeposit into that new account. Just don't forget to use the new account number every time you do a remittance. So this question commonly pops up in MP2 discussions. Because of the flexibility of the fund, there are a variety of different scenarios that will come into play if you make certain decisions on your investing habits. Be it doing one time at the start, or doing it regularly, or doing it irregularly depending on when you have spare cash, you're just depositing on irregular scenarios. In all of these three ways, you will still earn the dividends, but obviously just think about the rule of thumb that you earn the dividends for the amount of time that that money is in the fund. Meaning, the earlier you put money into the fund, the longer is the interest earning or dividend earning period, meaning you will have more access to the success of the fund if you place this money earlier into the investment horizon. Magbigay tayo ng example so that you are able to dimensionalize this. Let's say you did a one-time lump sum of 100,000 at the start, or you say saved about 1,500 or 2,000 pesos every month regularly for the next 5 years. Ideally, what would happen is if you saved a lot more upfront, meaning yung 100,000 has stayed in the account much longer, meaning that 100,000 has been earning the dividends full every year for the next 5 years. So the likelihood of that earning more is much higher versus dun sa naguhulog lang ng fund every month, because dun sa second month, mas na tagal yung 100,000 than the original amount. To explain this better, and to provide more tangible examples, what we'll do is we'll upload a new video and maybe upload a new spreadsheet so that you can simulate what you will earn on the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund. If you're interested to learn about that, please make sure to hit the like button. Also click on subscribe and the notification bell so that you're notified when new videos are up. We'll be able to provide you with more tangible examples as to which types of investment strategies will earn more dividends in the future. But for now, just consider that more time spent inside the fund will generally earn more dividends than when you submitted those funds later on in your 5-year term. So that's it. Those are some of the frequently asked questions on the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund. I hope this video was able to answer some of the questions that you may have in mind. If you have more, please write them down in the comment section below, and we'll try to come up with another video so that it benefits everyone else who may have the same questions. For me, my best advice is for you guys to go try it out. The barrier for entry is very, very low. If you have 500 pesos, you can actually start doing this. And I hope that's good incentive for you to start this as we head on to 2021. I hope you can subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're gonna upload more videos on the topic so that you can have more information, or we can even do Q&A on some of your other questions so that others can benefit from it as well. I hope you had good value from this video. Please share this with friends who you think will benefit from the investment of the Pag-IBIG MP2 fund, and I'll see you on the next video.